Hello everyone, my name is Kasia Jastrzębska, as Arek already mentioned, and I will be speaking about handling side effects with Redux, in Redux, with ReduxSaga. But before we go there, I would like to show you me sitting on a horse. Yes, as you have probably already seen, I love horses. This is like the amazing thing I have in life, and I strongly recommend you to have some hobby in your life, besides coding, of course. Coding is the most important thing. But besides that, it's really cool to have something, and I have horses. And so I am Kasia Jastrzębska. My Twitter handle is there. So if you would like my presentation, follow. And I'm working for 24 Easter. We are hiring, of course, we are hiring, and I recommend you to check out the page. We don't have English page because this is a Norwegian company, but we will have it eventually. So I want to think about my presentation in 3 sections. So we will talk about a little bit about asynchronicity in JavaScript in general. Then we'll move on to the options, how we can handle asynchronicity in React, because I'm sorry, it will be mostly React presentation. I'm really sorry about that. And, or maybe not. So the 3rd section will be about ReduxSaga and what ReduxSaga can bring to the table when it comes to the asynchronicity. So, side effects in JavaScript. Well, if I would like to describe side effects in JavaScript, because as you probably know already, JavaScript is a single-threaded language, so what the hell? Where is the synchronicity in that? So I tried to actually describe it with 1 sentence, and what I got is everything which takes place in the background. So all the events like clicking, or I don't know, some hovering stuff, and etc. Of course, everything which web APIs brings to the table, so delays, intervals, and fetching the data from API, yay, hooray. This is something really great. And I also asked myself, why handling the asynchronicity, async operation in web applications became so important when actually this happened. So this thing happened back then in 2005 when Google developers worked on Gmail application, and they asked themselves, so why web applications cannot rival desktop applications, actually, because of what? And if you remember those times, there was applications in web which, if you wanted to change something, bang, refresh the page. So this was like a hard thing. And Google developers thought, OK, so let's try to give users the data without the necessity to refresh the page, and they used XHR. And funny fact, XHR was introduced way before that by Microsoft developers. Yeah, so this is like a really funny fact. And here is, as you probably read already, a really cool note from Jesse James Garrett, who was introducer of Ajax term. And who from you guys, please raise your hand, already connected Ajax with jQuery? How many of you think Ajax is a jQuery thing? It's not. It's a thing, it's a term introduced by Jesse James Garrett. It's a really nice article by him. And yeah, but jQuery actually popularized that, so hooray, jQuery. And why? Why it's so important? Because time waits for no one. And this is very, very important for us. So where is the problem? Where is the problem with asynchronicity? We already know how to handle asynchronicity, so let's think what are possible dangers and why we actually should think about it and talk about it. Because as you probably know, developers love to solve problems which does not exist with a huge NPM packages which actually introduce another problem. So how we handle side effects right now? Because we have multiple ways to do that, and one of them, and the simplest one, is Callbox. And of course, as you see on the attached picture, what is possible danger of Callbox? Yeah, the callback hell. It's like a #1 question in every recruitment process, like what is the callback hell? So nesting, many callback. It's really hard to debug this shit. And it's really hard to actually write easy, readable, and nice code. So the problem is code readability with just using callbacks, as you probably noticed. Another thing, a really cool feature than the newer are promises. And promises, as you probably noticed, are really cool. They're introduced the API to use them with many useful functions as all, race, and you can easily catch the problems of promises. So where is the problem? Where is the catch with promises? Well, try nest another promise in promise. And for more, try to catch errors for every promise in like 3 nested promises. So again, another thing, of course, is ability to cancel. Is it possible to cancel a promise? No, exactly. It's impossible. Once promise goes, it just executes to the completion, as the whole JavaScript, of course. So what are the possible solutions? And here, from this section, we'll jump into React, and I would like to ask how many of you ever tried React and have some experience with React. Just raise your hand. Oh, it's pretty good amount of people. So possible solutions for handling async operations with React. Oh, I have to. Redux-Saga. And this is just a middleware, and middleware is something which Redux uses. And this is like part of code which is executed every time an action is dispatched to the store. So Redux-Saga is something which gives a possibility to attach a function to action. So it's not that action returns only a type and payload. It returns a function which can execute anything inside. So let's go through the beautiful diagram I've prepared. There is an action creator, which returns the function. Function goes to the Saga middleware, and then we can just execute a promise. As you can see here, this is an fetch data action, which returns a function dispatch action at the beginning. As you can see, there is a start action, then goes promise body, and if the success appears, there is a success action, and of course, error action is dispatched as well. So Redux-Saga is a really cool solution for small projects. I'm not against Redux-Saga, it's not like that. It's just really simple, and then when it comes to much complicated projects, it can get nasty. So there is another thing, and this is a Redux promise middleware. Another middleware, of course. This is how we worked with Redux a lot. And the Redux promise middleware is something, it's a factory, I would say, which just simply adds extra code to your action creator and do the job for you. So every time you execute a promise, like get fancy data, Redux promise middleware will dispatch the start action. Then if the promise is resolved, it will dispatch the success action, and hooray, everything is handled. But when it comes to factories, we will have to be very careful because it can get nasty again. So the problem I noticed, and the question I asked myself was, where actually we should handle, sorry, I will get my water. So where we should actually handle the async code in React. Like, I thought action creators are the place where we should do this. Water. And how to write easy to understand, readable code which is asynchronous. And this is a huge problem for many developers. So are we looking for some kind of superhero library out there? What? Oh, sorry. Sorry for that. And here is a really simple model of how Redux works again. So there is action dispatched, there is a dispatcher which works on the action, and reducer which reacts on the action. And here comes our superhero lib, which is ReduxSaga. And ReduxSaga listens to our dispatcher, and if the action comes, simply reacts. So this is something extra, something works on the side, and we have a simply new, fancy way, fancy place to put our asynchronous code. And how it works. Oh, wait, what? Oh, so I just shocked myself and asked myself, why? Is that simple? It's like, what the hell? So what is under the hood? What is under the hood with Redux-Sagas? Probably you already know, but I will tell that. Under the hood, ReduxSaga use generators. And generators is a pretty new, cool thing in JavaScript, not yet supported in standard browsers, but I hope it will happen eventually, sometime in the future. So the simplicity of generators, because when you write generators, it's like you write a synchronous code which will be executed asynchronously. So it's a very, very simple syntax. You just write your generator as a simple function. And then you can pause it and resume anytime you want it. Simple as that, right? So we have a keyword yield, of course, which do the job. This is something like a return, because it will pause our function, our generator, for a while, and return execute the do something and return the result of the do something. So every time we just simply execute the next of our method next of our generator, the yield will do the job and return and pause and then resume to the another yield. So this is how it works under the hood. And let's see how our promise we have seen before will look at with the generators, with our awesome generators. Yay! So update data or fetch data, it will be just 2 yields or many other yields, but as you probably noticed, there is no more nesting thing. So this is just yield call something like fetch data, and then yield call fetch another data. So this simple as that, right? Okay, let's go further. Let's see what ReduxSaga brings to the table, because this is not only generators. This is a huge, I mean, not huge, like very huge. This is a library with many useful effects. This is how we call it, effects. ReduxSaga brings to you to make the asynchronicity in React simpler, even simpler. So we have 3 sections of those effects. There are many more of them, but I will just show you the most important ones. So there is a section which will work with Redux, with React, not only React actually, with Redux. So we have a put effect which will put the action to the dispatcher. There is a take effect which will just simply listen to the action from dispatcher. There are also really interesting 2 effects, which is a take every and take latest, which have extra logic to do some job for you. So every time we simply dispatch some action, take every will just react on every action dispatched, but take latest will just simply ignore all the older ones and take the latest action dispatched. So this is pretty cool when we, for example, go through the pages, and user will go through the pages and just simply switch, and we want to fetch some data, but oh, well, we started fetching some data with promise, but user actually switched. So we can cancel with generators and fetch data which is important for the user. So there is another section which is manipulate, and manipulate is to manipulate our generators, of course. And there is a call which can call a function, which can have a promise inside, of course, or fetch, or XHR, anything to fetch data or do some another asynchronous operation. There is fork, which is, I would say, calling the generator, but also having a reference to the generator. So we take our generator on the fork, and we have reference, so we can easily what? Cancel it, of course. Yeah, so you can from now you can cancel the asynchronous operation array. And we have also delay and many others to help our generators work as we want to. And there is also simple way to get some data from our state with select, which is also an effect which selects some part of the state of application for us. And we can actually connect it with reselect library, if you are familiar with, and do really awesome stuff with that. So let's cancel our Saga. Let's go to the example. I will not do the live coding because, well, it can go wrong. It can go wrong. I did it once or twice. So the first step will be to, of course, create a generator which will handle some operations. So as I just took the generator we had before, so there is an update data which will do something and then do more, of course. Another step will be a generator which will take every action from our dispatcher. And as you probably noticed already, there is a while true, which is weird. So while true here is very, it's not like the only way to do that, but this is a simple way to say to our generator to work in the background like forever. But it's not like it's working and it's executing and it's blocking our application because something is just happening all the time. It's nothing like that, because as you probably remembered from my previous slides, yield will pause our generator and we'll just simply go back to our generator once again when dispatcher will inform the ReduxSaga that the action was dispatched, the request action was dispatched, and then just call the update data generator, of course. So the first step will be to replace the call method effect with fork effect and simply assign a task, which we'll have null at the beginning, but then if we will simply fork our generator, we will have the reference to the generator, and if another action comes, we simply cancel the previous one. Simple as that. But what about catching problems? Because I've mentioned with promises that catching multiple nested promises problems is really nasty. It's hard to debug, it's hard to test it, and how about generators? So we just simply use try and catch. And if you catch some error, and it's not only about fetching data error, it can be some kind of code error. There is just a catched error, and it will be dispatched to our reducer. So our reducer from now can react as well as on fetch errors problem, also on some kind of code problems. So we can just show user some note that, oh, sorry, problem occurred, try to refresh or something. Okay, or we can, of course, retry our action. What about testing Redux sagas? Because this is also important. We try to have like coverage on our code with tests. This is not a new trend. This is something stable. So Actually, testing Redux sagas and generators is simple as that because of the syntax of sagas. The syntax is as a synchronous code. So how we test our generators, we just go through the next and next and next of our generator lines of code. So as you see, there is a test which check if the iterator, our generator, should call the service, and we expect that the value of the next line of our generator will be equal to call some service with some data. Simple as that. Okay, so let's sum up. Why we should use ReduxSaga? Of course, because of the code readability. It grows. And if we have a huge team of many developers, like 10 or more, this is a very important thing because developers will work on another part of code, will just probably co-work with you on some part of code, some part of application, or go back to your code from time to time. And it's very important to give another developer possibility to read your code, debug your code, and just simply refactor or change or something without spending many hours on thinking how it works actually and how to catch this damn it error over there. So this is very important. Another thing, of course, is API which ReduxSaga brings to the table, so possibility to console, to raise, to retry the API call, simple as that, to catch errors, to test it very simply. And another thing, really important, and this is like a first point of my summary, is to remember to not overcomplicate things, to not bring huge libraries or complicated stuff to a simple projects. Remember about it. And of course, choose carefully what you use and where you use and why. Ask yourself questions. Thank you very much.
My question is, do you have any tips on limiting the complication that a team can introduce into the project when using Saga? Because with promises, you can do 2 or 3 things to complicate it, but with Saga, there is a whole world of new layers you can build inside of an action and fork it multiple times. Any tips what we should actually avoid?
Of course. So this is an interesting question. And one thing for all of you, let's think about architecture of our project. No matter how big or small it is, we have to think about it at the beginning. And this is like a huge tip for you as well, to separate our sagas, for example, to write them separated by logic, by domain, by reducer. So this is one thing. Another thing, of course, is to make really simple generators and separate a bunch of logic, for example, around fetching data into one generator. And if you want to do some debounce stuff or throttle or another thing, you just simply do another generator. And this is my tip for that.
Okay, so question about the testing. Which test runner are you using and which serializer to test your sagas? Because by default, if you're using something like Jest and default serializer, it will fail, what you just put in there, that to equal, put and something, it will fail. So you're probably using some kind of serializer to do that?
I'm using Jest.
Yeah, but by default, if you do something like that in Jest, it will fail. It will exactly say that the values are equal, but the tests are failing, something like that. Because the Jest will try to serialize it into string, and then compare 2 strings, but they refer to the different object.
Of course, I'm using a serializer helper from ReduxSaga, but I will show you after the presentation what is this exactly. This is a good question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question regarding the Redux observable library. Have you ever had a chance to look at this library?
love you for this question. This is very interesting. I wanted to add it to the possible solutions. The only reason why I haven't put it there, because I never tried the Redux observable, but from what I read, it's really familiar to the Redux sagas. It does the same job, so you can just simply put the logic of asynchronous programming into Redux observable space, but it uses the Redux-JS pattern of observables. So this is like another thing. So if you are familiar with this, if you are familiar with Redux-JS and you came from an Angular world, for example, to the React world, it's really simple to jump into Redux observables. But when it comes to programmers who never touched the observable pattern, it can be just hard to simply start with that.
Okay, thank you.
And just for the record, here I am. You can't cancel the promise, and you won't be able, since Dominic De Nicola canceled in TC39 his proposal like 9 months ago.
Okay.
But the most popular asynchronous operation in web is fetching, and fetching will have its abort syntax, and it's coming.
That's cool. That's really amazing, and I'm really happy because even with generators, I also use promises. This is not like you use generators and you have to cut the promises. It's mostly about just organizing your code and possibilities you have now with generators.